I think why breakups can tend to be harder for men is because women, we have a support system. We have friends that we could just go and cry in their arms and they just listen to us, right? And so I think men, sometimes when they go through a breakup, it's like their partner, that was their emotional support, their partner, and they lose that. And so I think it's so important for men to find other people, whether it be other men, women, coaches, therapists that have the capacity to hold that, right? I think that's important, is like something I've had to learn is being intentional with who I share certain things with. Some things I have said to people in the past and I don't feel like they can hold it or like that they have the emotional intelligence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
It's like some people too, you tell them about what you're going through and they'll go right into like fix it mode, which is common for men. And sometimes we have to tell them, hey, can you just listen? Can you just hold space?
Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. It was a new moon yesterday.
Okay.
Which is good for letting go and releasing. So today I'm just feeling, just cleansed and cleared. And
what did you let go and release?
Well, so preparing for this podcast, it did bring up a lot. It brought up stuff from the past breakups. And also I went through a breakup in the last year. And so still grieving that relationship. And so full transparency, I'm coming into this feeling tender, and really raw around this topic.
Well, thank you very, very, very much for agreeing to do this. We're probably going to really go there today.
Fuck yeah.
Both of us will, which is probably needed for both of us, but also anyone listening. I'm sure they could maybe find some comfort or, I don't know, solace in that or whatever. Let's back up a little bit. We met recently. We met like less than a month ago in
Venice, which is like Burning Man.
Yeah, Venice, Burning Man community. Very small town. It feels like in a mess. One of the biggest cities in the world.
Yeah. I'm new, by the way,
so am I. When did you move here again?
October.
Oh, you're really new.
I'm really new.
Okay, I am last October, one extra year from you. So you're really new. We met at Adam Greenfeld's Kabbalah Club. Shout out Adam. He was guest number 2 on the show. I think it was episode 2.
It's been great to meet
Great
people.
friend group, right?
Yeah.
Best friend group.
Community.
And Adam's an incredible human. So we met. And then the next day or 3 days later or something, I was invited to this guy George's tea ceremony on a Friday morning. And he's your partner.
Yeah,
and so I showed up and I was
like,
oh my God, that's right. Nikki lives with his team George. That's so cool. So we met again a few days later. And then everyone in that group had followed each other on Instagram. I looked at your Instagram and I see your bio, which is relationship and breakup coach. And at the time, I hadn't had a female guest on this show yet, and started to realize I need to get some female guests on the show, both because it's being asked about and like this, it's important. And it just like clicked in that moment where I was like, men suck at breakups. Like we do this thing where we go get wasted after a breakup, or we go like ignore our feelings and we dive into the gym or fucking start a podcast, or like a lot of men go right back into dating new women. And then you hear this thing that like women feel it up front and then they're pretty good by like 3 to 6 months often. Men don't feel shit for 3 to 6 months and then it hits them really hard. So either way, I was like, ooh, here might be someone to have this conversation with. So today I'd love to kind of do the full rundown on not just why do men struggle so much with breakups, but also just like, why do people struggle so much with breakups and what's happening? Of course, it's like the hardest thing in everyone's lives, but more importantly, how can we get a little better at it? How can we help each other?
And learn from each other.
Get a little better at it, support each other better. It's extremely rare for like one dude to go to his friend and be like, I really need your help with this breakup right now. Or, hey man, I see that you really need some help with your breakup right now. Like, let me help you.
Whereas it's very normal for women to stuff their face with a pint of ice cream.
And like that's the quintessential like image of a breakup. And for dudes, it's like, we're going to Vegas. And I think we all could probably just agree that like that's not the healthiest route. Like, if you really, really think that's the healthiest route, this probably isn't the podcast for you. So you might as well just go do anything else or continue to listen.
I think anyone that's listening, though, is open.
Is probably pretty open, or at least like gotten this far into the 5 minutes we've been here so far. So that's the quick backstory. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It really is an honor. You know, I know that this is a masculinity podcast. So for me, being a female in a female body, like it's an honor. And I've also been on my own journey of majority of my life. I've actually been more in my masculine. And so for me, the last year, which my last breakup was a big catalyst for this, of really embodying more of my feminine. So it's like, of course, I would get asked to be on a masculinity podcast. Sure. It's like there's such a inner bro in me that when I was researching more about the difference of how men and women process breakups, I also relate to men and their struggles, you know? So I think when I'm speaking to men, it's speaking to men and women, like everyone. Yeah. You know?
Well, let's start here. Who are you?
I'm Niki Van Houten.
Well, that's your name. But who are you?
Who am I? I am... I mean, that's a loaded question.
It's supposed to be really deep.
Yeah.
Even because I love it because it's not what do you do or like tell me about yourself, introduce yourself. It's like, who are you as a human being?
Well, first, it's when you asked this question, a few months ago I did a retreat with Deepak Chopra, and he asked, we were with partners, and he asked this question, and we whispered the answer to our partner. And our partner would ask us, "Who are you? Who are you?"
You whispered to your partner.
Our partner would whisper in our ear, "Who are you? Who are you?" And we would just kind of let that flow through us spontaneously. And as time progressed, it was less about the titles and like I am a coach or I am from Connecticut or I am, you know, an athlete. Yeah. And it became more about like I am love and I am peace and freedom and more about the essence, right? Yeah. So it is. So it's like, do you want the human answer? Or
I want the
soul answer.
The soul answer.
I am a stand for love in this world. I am a stand for peace and freedom, and I'm really here to. You know, Ram Dass says we're all walking each other home, and I really feel that I am just walking everyone that I come into contact with home. And I am a permission for people to take off their mask. A lot of my life, I wasn't this authentic or raw. You know, I wore a lot of masks. And
why do you think that was?
There was a lot of perfectionism. And, you know, being a high performer, high achiever, there's pros to that, you know, it's gotten me to where I am, but it's also like there was a lot of mass, or it was hard for me to be messy and to be in the low places, which that's life. Yeah. We're not always, and this is something I'm still practicing, but it's like we're not always going to be 100%. So just for me, it's like I've learned to accept that. And it's like, how can I still show up when I'm still not fucking on it? Can I curse on here?
Absolutely.
when I'm not on it, you know? So permission for other people to remove their mask and just be their true self. And I am very playful. I'm a lover. I am inside. I am a mother. I'm very nurturing. I am powerful woman. I am a sister, a daughter. I am a friend, a lover.
A lot of good things.
A lot of good things, yeah.
Can we start by, I'm curious your take on this, but how do you define your masculine and feminine? Not necessarily for you, we can get to that, but like this shows a lot about masculinity, but we don't necessarily define that a whole lot. And it's very hard to define, I feel like. There's a lot of
some nuance.
There's like different definitions we've heard, but then also once you get into it, you're like, there's no right or wrong answer. How do you look at it?
I love that question because it's like we all define things differently. And so distinctions create clarity and freedom. And there's a nuance around masculine, feminine energy that I like to teach. And so whether you're a man or a woman, you know, we all have masculine, feminine energies within us. And think of it as like a quadrant or a matrix. And so on the left side, you have the feminine, and the right side, you have masculine. Top left.
Why is feminine left and masculine right? Because yesterday we sat down at this table, and I was like, I'm going to go on the left. And the woman who's the guest was like, that's the feminine side. I was like, I didn't know that.
On the left.
Yeah.
So the left is receiving and right is giving, and also has to do with the hemispheres in the brain. And I left is giving and right is receiving. And it's interesting. Have you heard of that before? Before yesterday?
The left and right? No.
Yeah,
I did know that like one side was giving and one was receiving, but I didn't really ever connect it to masculine and feminine. And I also think, I'm just going to look in the camera right now and say, like, masculine and feminine does not mean man and woman, boy and girl. And that's like what 99.9% of the definitions in society place it as. And I really think I just think it's so important that we debunk that right out of the gates.
Debunk it.
Debunked. It is
right
debunked.
It is debunked.
Yes. Trope. It is a trope.
So on the matrix, the top is wounded, healed traits, and then the bottom is unhealed, unhealthy, toxic traits of each. And so with the feminine, you think healthy, healed, feminine qualities are receptive, receiving, nurturing, loving, intuitive, wise, creative, flowy, magnetic, caring, compassionate. And then the unhealed qualities of the feminine is over-emotional, manipulative, which is seductive, is a form of manipulation, seducing, right? Being too needy, victim, so that's feminine. Masculine, healed, healthy traits, or divine masculine is driven, analytical, trustworthy, grounded, present, honest, intelligent, or also wise, giving. So those are some examples. And then the unhealed toxic traits is aggression, dominance, control. Yeah.
Why is healing the axis here? Because when I first learned about masculine and feminine, it was probably almost a decade ago, early 20s. And the way I first learned of it is the difference is how you process information and make decisions, logical versus emotional.
Yeah.
And like, depending on the situation, sometimes I process information very emotionally, make decisions very emotionally, which would be more in the feminine. Vice versa, logical would be more in the masculine.
Yeah.
So if you were to ask me, like, Jake, what do you think is the matrix, feminine on this side, masculine on this side, I'd be like logic and then emotion. But you went to like healing. I didn't know that at all. What's that about?
Well, so the top quality, like the top part of the matrix, are healed traits or healed qualities. Or they also, have you heard divine feminine, divine masculine? And so when you have healed those wounded parts of you, the wounded masculine, feminine traits, then the expression is more of those healed divine character qualities and traits. Does that make sense?
I think so. I hear it. Also,
so for example, a man, a lot of times I find in my own journey, but with my clients that have wounded or unhealed toxic traits in the masculine quadrant, they have stuff with the masculine side of their family, with their dad or with maybe a masculine figure in their life, but there's some sort of impact or trauma that happened with the masculine. Or you see a lot of women have a lot of trauma and wounding towards the masculine. And so they are not expressing healthy traits of the masculine, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. You laid it out very simply.
Yeah.
And we're probably at some point going to pull a clip from this and make a visual representation of this
Amazing.
of this matrix and
Yeah.
then talk about it. Okay, so I don't want to just like jump to now breakups, but I'm curious. So you learn about masculine, feminine. What type of path did that put you on in your 20s and early 30s?
So I grew up in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
I went to college in Florida. My degree was elementary education. And I went in Florida.
Where'd you go to college?
Florida State. Go Noles. I just, right when I could leave home, I did. I was like, I'm out of here. And after Florida State, I moved to Thailand and taught English for a year. Got to travel all over Southeast Asia, went to 8 countries by myself. And that was my trajectory. My path was being an elementary school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually was going to go teach in Atlanta, Georgia, 2nd grade after Thailand. And towards the end of the year, I got into a motorbike accident, which was a near-death experience.
In Thailand?
In Thailand, yeah, which is the number one cause of death. But I was reckless at that time. I was not conscious and awake. I was partying a lot, and so it was a big wake-up call for me. And
how old were you?
I was 22.
Okay.
Yeah. And then a week after the accident, and it was not like I had a concussion, I get stitches burned all over my body, and I went to a hospital where they didn't speak any English. It was traumatic, you know.
Oh.
And then a week after the accident, a buddy from college called me and I found it very serendipitous a week after. And he said, Niki, we're in the Bay Area selling solar panels. We're making 20, 30K months. We all live together. We're saving the planet. He's like, are you in? And at the time, I almost just died, you know? So I was a yes woman. And since then, it's really helped me to play all out in my life, and kind of, it's like the quote, you know, a man's second life begins when he realizes he has one life.
Yeah.
Like that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, tell me more. And he said it was door to door. And I was like, oh, okay, I got to sleep on this. This is a lot. And couldn't sleep that night. And the message that kept coming through was like, if you could do this, Niki, you could do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, I'm in. So everyone thought I was crazy. You know, I'm elementary school teacher from Connecticut going to California, and it's startup, commission only, door-to-door sales, crushed it, did very well then for a year. And then they moved me to San Jose, managed a sales team of all guys. And so that was kind of, and at that time too, I was learning about leadership and getting tastes of motivation, and kind of like the gateway drug of Tony Robbins' work and Landmark and Bob Proctor and these OGs. And I after that, after 2 years of doing door to door, became a closer. So I was just going into 3 to 5 appointments Monday through Saturday. So I learned a lot about people, and I learned a lot about just communication, and then I was making a lot of money, but it was like I thought this is what I wanted. You know, when you have that first mountain of success,
yeah,
and you realize like, oh, this isn't it, and that's what happened. And I became depressed, burnt out, anxious, suicidal, and I hired my first coach, and she did hypnotherapy and NLP on me, and it worked. It was a miracle, truly. Like within a few sessions, I felt like a different person.
Wow.
And people notice that too. And I think a lot of people who want to give back and be of service in the world, it's like they've been on a hero's journey. You know, for me, I've been on a hero's journey. And so I got into coaching. She even at that time was like, you're going to be a coach one day. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And that was actually my in. So I started doing sales for other coaches and doing retreats all over the world and kind of learning the ins and outs of the coaching space. And then I've, over the last 5 years, been dabbling in different areas of life, helping people with business and money mindset and their health and their energy and relationships and breakups, and kind of just seeing what brings me the most fulfillment in terms of when these people get these results and outcomes, you know? And so it's interesting too, because as a coach, I mean, just in general, right? External, outer world equals inner world. Anytime I'm going through something in my life, I reflect that, my clients reflect that back to me. So, of course, I've struggled with romantic relationships a lot of my life. Like, that's been a huge part of my soul curriculum. So, of course, I've attracted clients who also have struggled with relationships and conflict, or not feeling securely attached in their relationships. And it's so funny because the last breakup I went through, I had a year and a half ago, I niched down into relationship coaching. And my boyfriend at the time, he broke up with me. And I was like, fuck. I felt like such a fraud. I was like, who am I to teach people about relationships? You know? And I remember I called my mom and she was like, well, Niki, you've been through a lot of breakups. Maybe you could be a breakup coach. I was like, all right, there's truth to that.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thanks, Mom. And yeah, so, I mean, that for me, every breakup has been a huge catalyst in my life.
Yeah.
Huge catalyst. Since I was 15, I'm 31 now, I've been in a monogamous relationship. Like, I've been pretty much a serial monogamous. There's been spurts that I've taken time to really go inward, but I feel like I'm here to learn through relationships.
Yeah.
You know? And so I've been in like 7 1-year plus relationships. And my last relationship was, I thought he was my person. It was honestly devastating. It like, I would cry every day for 2 months. I total rock bottom. Yeah. It was about a year and a half ago, but we can go deeper into that.
Let's start. You were, I was going to say elementary level, which is great because you want to be an elementary school teacher.
Yeah.
Like the white belt 101 breakup shit.
Yeah.
Probably the stuff that anyone who's ever been through a breakup can probably relate to in day one. So when you see like very common situations that clients or friends or whomever go through, what is most common? What's almost the like step one of here's what everyone's dealing with when they go through breakups?
With a breakup. I think it really depends on, the person. But I think something I have observed, and I'm going to speak through my personal experience, but also what I've observed in my clients, and then also just broad, like the collective. I think a lot of people, when they go through a breakup, they end in hate and animosity or anger, or they badmouth their previous partner. They have so much, which, right, everyone's process is their process.
Yeah.
But I think something that and I've been there, I've done that. And this last breakup, me and my ex, Noah, we made a commitment to maintain the peace and the love and the respect. Maintaining the love and respect. I see that a lot of people don't have the capacity to do that, or don't have the maturity or the emotional intelligence to do that. And not that there's a right or wrong way, but I've just seen in my breakups and in others, it's almost as though how we end one thing is how we start the next, right? And I just saw in my previous breakups, it was almost like bleeding. That was bleeding into the next relationship.
Yeah.
And so, of course, me and Noah were able to consciously uncouple.
Very Los Angeles.
Yeah, consciously uncouple. And then, of course, like I felt like the transition into my new relationship now, I didn't bring a lot of that shit, you know. It has bled. It always will, right? But not as much.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big thing is just the ending, you know. Is there any questions you have about that before I go to the next point?
No, let's go to the next point.
Okay. I would say something else I observe is people are so quick to glow up and rebuild, right? And I think
I do that.
I've done that too.
Yeah. Can't necessarily be like, I've had glow ups. I think I have had a few.
Have you had a glow up?
But no, I totally like dive into like just self-improvement as the cure.
Yeah.
Always have.
Yeah. Or you said hobbies, which there's a healthy level of like finding yourself.
Yeah.
And healing. And I think though it's like something I notice in myself and just others is using distractions to suppress and avoid feeling emotions.
Yeah. Could we dig into that one for probably
That's
a while?
That's a big one. Probably.
Okay, so let's start here.
Yeah.
There's any guy listening and probably any person listening knows that this is a very common thing now, which is TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, wherever you like to get your short form content, video content. There's such a niche of like this dark noir male breakup culture, and it is all at the gym. I've even seen great like funny spoofs and memes of like whatever, faceless cheap gym like Planet Fitness or Crunch, for example, being like their whole marketing campaign is just like, we'll pay a woman like a referral fee or a bonus to break up with her boyfriend so that they can come get the gym membership. Because it's like the pipeline from breakup to gym is strong. And so there's this whole world of like, don't do anything except for fucking lift really hard. Like it's like the healthiest, best thing you can do. And it's like, I can't hate that. What do you think about that? Big picture.
Big picture, yeah.
What's going on here?
Well, I think that, again, women are more likely to process emotions and grief in real time. And actually, a lot of women preemptively grieve. I don't know if you've ever heard this.
Yeah, what's up with that? Why is that happening?
So, 70% of divorces and breakups are initiated by women. And I think the reasons for this is number one, unmet needs. I think women are more aware of kind of their needs and maybe expressing that, and maybe the man in the relationship is like, oh no, you're fine, or or like I'll do that. They just kind of say that they'll meet those needs. So unmet needs. I think women are more emotionally attuned, right? And so they can feel if things are off and if it's not feeling aligned. And the third is if it's feeling unequal, like if a woman is not feeling like she's feeling met, right? If she's putting in all this energy and time and she's not feeling it being reciprocated, right? And so, and I do think that men are more likely to be avoidant, kind of like an avoidant attachment style, meaning men don't necessarily, avoidant men, they don't always want to have these hard conversations, right? Or if their partner is coming to them with unmet needs, they get defensive, right? And also women that are listening, there's a way to express your needs without shaming, which I think a lot of women get this wrong.
Do you have a formula for that?
Kind of.
Let's hear it.
So instead of saying, here, give me an example of something maybe your girlfriend would want you to do.
I don't have a girlfriend, but I've had girlfriends. Like basically shoot me a text when you're on your way home.
Okay. How does this feel for you if a woman said this to you? Hey, baby, when you send me a text on your way home, it makes me feel so good. Or it makes me feel safe.
Yeah, I'm going to fucking text you every time on my way home, even if I'm not like going home to see you or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I want to be the hero.
I have some of my clients, I say like, hey, baby, when you take out the trash, it really turns me on.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to take the shit out of that trash. Yeah.
So it's like focusing on what you do desire and
What's an alternative that people often revert to instead of that?
You never take out the trash.
Yeah.
Or,
you always do this.
You always do this.
Yeah.
Or just being more critical.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Or attacking.
You're just like your mother.
You're just like your mother. You're just like your mother.
Yeah. Okay. So, great example.
Yeah. So, unmet needs, emotional intelligence, and feeling like a inequality of effort. Those are the reasons why women are more likely to break up with men.
Mm-hmm. So they often have already grieved the relationship and before they've ended it, you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then breakup happens. What happens next for people that you've seen?
What else I've seen? So the reason why men, I think, are so quick to go into the gym or into work or into fucking girls or going into partying, going to Vegas, is they're trying to distract themselves from it, right? They don't want to face the pain. And I think a lot of men, they don't have the competence around actually feeling and processing their emotions.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to be a woman on here that's going to be like, I think too, it's important for women not to make men like women and men not try to make women like men, right? Is to have any women that are listening to have compassion for men that they're learning. For us, this comes more naturally to process and feel emotions and to let the waterworks flow and just let the grief flow through us like a river. Like it's, I think, more of it's a skill. I think for women too, I think for everyone, it's a skill. But I think especially for men, men are also taught through conditioning to be strong, right? And that it's weak to feel your emotions or to sob or scream in a pillow. But I actually think that it's the opposite. I think any man that's listening, it's like your strength is in you actually going there and feeling your pain and facing it head on. Like that is true strength, right? I actually think it's harder to do that than to go into work mode or go right into the gym. Like to me, that's easy. That's easy to distract, but think of it like this, like the pain, the trauma, the grief, all the emotions don't go anywhere, right? It's all in the body. Yeah. It's all accumulating. And so for me, my mantra last year was be like the buffalo. So the buffalo is the only animal that goes towards the storm, goes into the eye of the storm. And so that during my recent breakup really helped me to just be like, okay, just fucking do it, go to it, like lean into this.
Yeah, what do you actually do?
For me, it's just feeling whenever even today, I felt a wave of grief come over me and I just cried and my partner held me. And that's another thing too, is like we think we need to be fully healed or before we get into the next relationship. And I actually thought that, when I attracted George, who, I know he's my soulmate. We both have already talked about marriage and kids. And I never thought that would happen. And I had people telling me, Niki, you should probably be alone after and really grieve. And something kept telling me like, no, it's okay. Like I can actually grieve in this relationship. Yeah. And it's been so healing. Yeah. And so I think that's a big lesson is you don't need to be fully healed and whole and to be in a relationship or to attract, the next person.
Yeah. I kind of look at it as like, let's just be real.
Yeah.
It's 2025. Okay. We're adults, late 20s, 30s.
Are we adults?
40s even. No one is 100% healed. Yeah. Like everyone's been through a complex number of traumas, capital T or lowercase t. Something I learned recently. We've all been through some fucking shit, whether it's relationship related, work related, family related, health related, like all sorts of stuff. So no one realistically, in my opinion, is showing up to any relationship like clean, 100% slate. Okay. Yes. So I think then it's about finding someone to heal with. finding someone you can feel safe healing with, letting them in to help you heal, and then being someone that can help them heal. It's like a gift to each other. And I think that's part of the process of guiding each other home.
Yeah.
And so I've made sense of it in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, if you're with somebody that you actually can't really heal with, they make your wounds worse.
Yeah.
Not your person.
Not your person. Yeah.
And like, get the fuck out of there.
Tell them. And yeah. Because I've heard, especially my male friends say, oh, well, until I'm in this bracket or like at this level, I'm not going to attract my dream woman.
So there's some, I think there's two frames to that.
Yeah.
And I'll use some pop culture references.
Yeah.
Sex and the City.
Sex and the City.
Great show. Men, watch Sex and the City. You'll learn a lot about women and men, but mostly about women. There's the like taxi light theory, right? It's like, oh, with men, they're just taxis. They're going to keep running back and forth through women. And then one day, eventually, their light goes off, and the next woman, like the one who is the woman at that time, will be the one that he chooses. It has nothing to do with like, is she the soulmate? She the right person?
Yeah.
It kind of comes down to that like right person, wrong time frame. And that's like one story that I think a lot of people have listened to.
Yes.
About men. Okay. Next story is the one you just mentioned for sure, which is like, it reminds me of my freshman year of college, and then like first years out of college, like you're the worst in society. Like freshman year of college, like you're not getting into any party.
I was the worst.
No girls are sleeping with you, most likely. Like it takes time to kind of build it up, and then you graduate from college, and now you're like the shit intern. And you're not getting into clubs, you're not getting meetings, you have no money, you have like 5 roommates in some piece of crap Lower East Side apartment. Like you suck. And you gotta work your way up, build your body, build your bank account, learn how to talk to women, not girls.
Yes, I love that distinction.
all that stuff. And then you can earn the one. Okay, there's that storyline. Then there's the storyline that I've heard from Conor McGregor.
Oh.
And Alex Hormozy, who are like, I mean, these are very famous, very macho type men.
Yes.
And they
very masculine.
Very masculine in a traditional sense. And they're claiming, no, it's about the woman who wanted you at your worst. She was with you at your worst.
Yeah.
And she stuck by your side as you grew, and you built this empire together, and that's your fucking queen.
Yes.
And that's the third storyline here. Personally, I like that one the most. That's like the most endearing, at least in this mindset. And so I don't even know where to take that right now, but I'm just going to leave that on the table as like, I've heard these 3 different storylines of like kind of how men and women arrive at each other. And I think that third one is the coolest.
And I always want to say, there's no right or wrong way to do this thing we call life, right? Like, do you have the manual?
You didn't get the manual?
You didn't get it?
Yeah, no, I didn't get that.
And yeah, when you were talking about that third path, that's actually the path like me and my current partner are on, is really like building together.
Yeah. And
for him, me just telling him, I believe in you, it, for him is jet fuel.
Absolutely.
And I love this around like, what's the saying? Like, if you can't be with me at my worst, you don't get me at my best.
You don't deserve me at my best.
You don't deserve me at my best.
And I 100% believe that.
And I honestly felt like with my last breakup that I had a tough time during our relationship, just moving through a lot in my career and just like personally. And I felt like he almost couldn't hold that. Like what I was going through. And so I think it's so important in a relationship that we normalize that it's going to be challenging, right? There's going to be ups and downs. And it's really, like you said, who do you want to be in the dojo with?
Yeah. I think like, who do you want to sit in the fucking mud with?
Yeah. Or in the fire. Yeah. Right. And I think for me, every breakup has taught me something about myself, and it's truly been a catalyst. But something I've noticed in people going through breakups is it's like you can actually use that breakup whenever someone's going through a breakup. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, fuck yes.
Yeah.
Like, this is.
It's funny because people tell me and they're going through a breakup or like
Yeah.
it's rock bottom, and you even said it before. And I always want to look at them and say, good.
Good.
I don't, because it's like the meanest thing ever, but
Yeah.
you want to be like, fuck yeah, like let it break you. Because
Yes.
we both know, or you may not know this right now, but like I know and you will know, the next version of you is going to be amazing. Like that's awesome.
And I like how you said, let it break you. Because I think that's really where the treasure is, you know, is when we allow ourselves to fall apart, you know, and just.
Can you share some stories around that, either for yourself or people you've seen?
Yeah. Yeah, I think myself in breakups in the past, I would just go through a breakup and be on to the next one. Like, what's the saying? How to get over someone is get under someone else. Like, I would just go back.
I hate that.
I hate that too.
I hate that so much.
But I would just like get right back into dating and distract myself with work and exercise and traveling. Just very, very escapist, like escaping myself. And then, so, okay, back up. I'm going to be very honest. When I was growing up, my father had 2 affairs. My parents are still happily married. They worked through it. They went to therapy, which is possible with infidelity. But so he had 2 affairs. And so my programming was that all men lie and cheat and that this is love. And so, of course, what do I attract? In the first 5 men I dated, they either cheated on me or left me for another woman. So after the 5th one, I'm like, this isn't just them. Like, fuck, like this is me. You know, it's that moment of I am creating my reality. And so at that moment, I was like, okay, I get to look at this and this pattern that I am repeating. And that's the thing is people, unless they do the work, because I hate the saying time heals all, because it doesn't. Unless you do the work and actually look at these patterns and these shadows and heal it, you know, or else you're going to attract same guy, same woman, different face, right? And so after that 5th breakup, that's when I really, you know, did work with healing the masculine and rewriting, you know, doing some subconscious reprogramming, belief work, and just clearing a lot of that. And really feeling too, I am worthy and I deserve a man who, you know, who loves me and who's and that also for me is now a number 1 value is like transparency, integrity. And so I think it's like, are we learning from these breakups, right? And are we just repeating the patterns?
Yeah, I think a lot about in a relationship when there's conflict, but then also like each breakup. That's the macro. The micro would be each conflict in a relationship, a fight.
Yeah.
If you get to 99% resolve in every fight, what happens after 100 fights? You're at 0.
Yeah.
But if you get to 101% resolve after each fight, after however many, you just keep rebuilding stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
And so it's about finding the partner that you can, yes, like we fight, we're going to argue, shit's going to go wrong, of course. But our ability to work through this, resolve it, and then like grow from this, learn something new, get better with each other, that's what it's about. And then you look at it, that's the micro. The macro would be like each relationship. Like if you look at, you get out of each one and you're bitter, you hate the person, you're not learning much, you're actually like going backwards, I think, each time.
Yeah.
Versus
or if you're
growing.
not, or if you're just going straight to the gym and not reflecting on like the lessons.
I have to ask though, like, is there a way where the gym, like that's where I do the reflection? Like when I'm in the gym, the shit I'm thinking about is like, I'm not thinking about that stuff anywhere else. It's my time to think about that stuff, and it's very productive thought.
I think it's a healthy balance. I think creating space, like go to the gym, do all your rituals and routines and healthy habits. And also I think it's important to create space for space, create space to reflect, create space to feel. And also I think why breakups can tend to be harder for men is because women, we have a support system. We have friends that we could just go to and be like, and cry in their arms and they just listen to us, right? And so I think men sometimes when they go through a breakup, it's like their partner was their emotional support, their partner, and they lose that. And so I think it's so important for men to find other people, whether it be other men, women, coaches, therapists that have the capacity to hold that, right? I think that's important, is like something I've had to learn is being intentional with who I share certain things with. Because I'm like, some things I have said to people in the past and I don't feel like they can hold it, or like that they have the emotional intelligence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
It's like some people too, you tell them about what you're going through and they'll go right into like fix it mode, which is common for men. And sometimes we have to tell them, hey, can you just listen?
Yeah.
Can you just hold space?
Yeah. How do you think men can support each other, men better in breakups, either like when your buddy's going through a breakup or when you're going through a breakup and you like want to ask for the support that you actually need and you might not know what it is that you need?
I think, or what do you think?
Let's start with the first one. Like, how do you help your friend when they're going through something? I think the first question is, how
do you help your male friends?
Well, I don't know if I'm great. I'll start with that.
I'll give you feedback.
I think I'm okay. The first thing I like to ask is like, basically, what do you need from me right now? Some version of that could be like literally like, what do you need from me right now? But with a smile, because it's kind of awkward to ask that.
Yeah.
What do you need from me? Or literally asking like, you want to vent to me? Because fuck yeah, if you want that. Or do you want to like hack on this problem together? Because fuck yeah, if you want that.
Yeah.
And they'll just tell you. And it's wild what happens when a dude asks another dude, like, do you want to vent or do you want to problem solve? And he's like, honestly, like, I think I would just like to vent. And it's like, great.
Yeah. Zip.
I got nothing to say now. I'm just going to listen. And every time he says to me, you're just like, yeah, totally. Yeah. I think that's like step one.
That's
and that solves like most of it right there.
Jake.
If they're in problem solving mode, it's like, if they say, oh, I want to solve this problem, I want to figure out like, what do I say in this text? Or like, do I call her or whatever it is? First of all, the answer is always, no, don't call her. But if she's your ex, you don't call your ex. But the process of asking like a lot of questions, like don't just let him talk for 5 minutes and be like, here's what you need to do. It's, you think you know the answer, ask 5 more questions. And then after that, you think you probably know the answer, ask another 5 questions. And then you pretty much never have to give the answer. He will arrive to it on his own. And that's the point, is like help people get to the answer on their own, even though you might know the answer
don't tell
already.
Them what to do. Yeah.
Because then he will take action on it.
This is bringing something up that I wanted to talk about. I think that, and that's great, by the way. I think all men listening, listen to that. Take notes. I think that something that really kind of fucked me up last year when I was going through my breakup was all of the information out there, like information overload, podcasts, YouTubes, also just other people's opinions and projections. It was just a lot of noise that was very ungrounding for me, and I was very confused and lost, and I was like, what the fuck do I do? Because also a majority of people, Noah and I, like, we've been able to maintain a friendship and we've been able to end how we've done so. A lot of people though don't understand, right? And they're just speaking based on their past experiences or their fears or their shit, their baggage, right?
Yeah.
And so I think a big lesson I learned in this last breakup was tuning into my truth. Like, what's my truth? Like, if I did know, what would that be? Yeah. And really listening to that.
I love you use the word lesson. So I think that like the best way to, I don't know if the word best is the right word, but like a really wonderful way to work through breakups healthily and with gratitude versus any negative emotion or hate. Like, I think we all would much prefer to be like, yeah, I'm grateful for that that woman I loved, like nothing but love and respect and appreciation of her. Like, hell yeah. Would much rather that than like, fuck that bitch. Like that's like just terrible energy to carry. That's just the worst thing.
It's sometimes it's easier for people to.
Of course, it's easier to to hate.
Block them.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll get to blocking in a minute because I think that's an important one. But I think the quote unquote formula here, if you will, that I love is like, whether it takes you a day or a week or 6 months, like however long it takes, but you need to arrive at what was the lesson from this relationship. Like what did this teach me? Like
here,
one
I'll share
sentence.
Journal prompts that I love.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first is what were the qualities in this person you admired, loved, and respected? That's the first prompt. The second is what are the qualities that triggered you? The qualities that, you didn't, had a hard time accepting in that person. The third prompt is what were the positive learning lessons from this relationship? And then the fourth is what are ways you still can grow in romantic relationships?
Love that.
Those are some great ones.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then journal, guys.
Yes.
Like that shit just sitting in your head and sitting in your body is not doing anyone any favors.
A good brain dump.
Just even if like you burn the page after you write it, just getting it out of you is huge. And I didn't really get into journaling. I journaled a bit at my first breakup because I didn't know what else to do. And I didn't journal it ever again until my second breakup. And then it took me years. Of course.
Yeah.
Because I was like, where else does this go? Like I can't just keep calling the same homies and my mom to vent about this stuff that like I feel a lot of self-judgment about. Yeah. So just write it on a piece of paper.
Yeah, it helps to just like also be the witness of it.
Yeah. And like you read it back after months or years and you're like, really? Like, dude, really? And that's great. Like love that boy in you, right? Like, have some appreciation for that kid. But on this topic of lesson, I think it's like there are basic lessons of like, she taught me, to like slow down, or like she taught me to embrace failure, or whatever it is. Like I think those are like level 1 lessons. Like have those and carry those. Every time you start to think about her, whether it's in the negative or positive, whatever it is, just be like, the point was like I got these lessons out of it. But I think then the bigger thing is the lesson of like who you are and what you're meant to do and be as a person.
Yeah.
Like for example, it might be like the lesson I got from this is that like it's my purpose to help people with their fitness, and like then go start a private training or physical training practice. And anytime you show up there, you could have gratitude for like how beautiful and amazing is it that like I had this relationship that like got me to this thing that's like my whole life now.
Yeah.
And that's yours. And like you built that and you earned it. And like beautiful way to have gratitude for someone that probably, quite frankly, was the root of a lot of your pain for a really long time.
Yeah, relationships impact a lot of areas of our life. A lot of the work I do, and this is why I've pivoted to relationship coaching, because I was helping, entrepreneurs, leaders with their business, but a lot of it was like their relationships, romantic relationship, but also business partnerships. And it's just like it really impacts a lot of areas of our life. And our romantic relationships, I found, it just can bring up our shit.
Oh, it's
what I mean? Like it brings up all of our shadows and all of our
shit.
Like the things that we've like for so long.
Yeah.
Just like, well, it comes out.
Totally. I'm curious. So the 70% of relationships end by the women. Mm-hmm. That sounds like, candidly, a bit of a like loaded stat to me. I wonder, there's a few like nuances that come to mind. I'm curious your take on this. First, I'm like, is that because men are more hesitant to get into the relationship in the first place? 2, are men like more scared to get out? What's going on here? What's your take on that?
I think that women are, again, there's this like preemptive grieving. So you could probably feel it too with your last breakup. Could you feel something was off for a while, right?
Yeah.
And so women, it's almost like women check out, right? And when they're feeling their needs aren't being met, or
I think every man can relate to like, oh yeah, she checked out. My last ex or whatever, she checked out.
Yeah.
Looking back, you're like, yeah, she checked out.
And that's why I think it's so important to have me and my partner now, we do weekly check-ins to just get a pulse check of like, hey, what from last week, what did we appreciate about each other? What were the wins? Like, what were the challenges? Is there anything that was left unsaid? And really like making sure that's fleshed out, because most people, I think men tend to be more avoidant, and in my last relationship, he would avoid conflict, which would actually create more conflict.
Absolutely.
Right? Avoiding conflict creates more conflict. And so it was like the resentment would build up and then it just explode, you know? And so I think communication is so important for a successful, thriving, healthy relationship. Like open, honest, clear communication. And, you know, it's people get blindsided, right? And I got blindsided my last relationship. And I think the greatest lesson in that was like, okay, I am like making sure I'm with my partner now, or I'm checking in. How do you feel? Not from this anxiousness, but just like what can we change? Like what's not feeling good, right? Like, and so, yeah, that was a big lesson for me.
Yeah. I learned that in my second relationships. I felt I was blindsided. That was my perception of it.
Yeah.
And then in the third, I was like, I don't want that to ever happen again. So I'm going to try this check-in thing. So my third relationship, I pretty early on was like, hey, I want to be in a relationship where we have check-ins, like a weekly small one.
Initiated that.
Yeah, I was like a weekly small one. Thanks. Like a monthly medium-sized one, and then like a quarterly like big one.
Yeah.
Weekly is like, how was your week? How could I be a better partner to you next week? Monthly is like, you know, where are you at in life? What are your goals right now? Like, what's going on? How can we support each other? Quarterly is like, where's this relationship headed?
Yeah.
Is this headed in the direction that you want? And if not, first of all, what direction do you want? And like, if not, like, what are we gonna do about that?
Yeah.
So I brought that up, and I recall my perception of this was she was like, you want to do check-ins? Like she had never heard a man bring that up before.
Yeah.
And looking back, I think that was so foreign to her because no man had ever initiated that. I don't know if she had that. It never really happened. Like we didn't really end up doing the check-ins. Anytime
Any man
I wanted
listening, do this.
Do the check-ins. It's like check-ins. It seems kind of fun and nice. I don't know. Like
it also
down.
makes the relationship juicier. My relationship now is like
you learn a lot along the way. Like I think that it seems great. And then anytime I would like try to then in the moment be like, hey, let's do a little check-in. It was like never the right time to do it. It felt like, and then eventually I was just like,
it's like they have a hard time having the hard conversation. They would even view a check-in as like, oh, this.
Yeah, I was like, really, we have to like do this tonight,
vulnerable.
Right? And it's like, well, what the fuck else are we doing tonight? We're just watching Netflix. Like, this is important.
Yeah, I want to share one more a big lesson from my last relationship was the importance of alignment. And so, I think, you know, getting into this new relationship early on, we got very clear on the things that we want and our values and our beliefs around finances, around sex, around our goals, around health, you know,
largely because you knew you had enough reps to know, like in each of these areas, this is what I don't want. This is what I do want.
Yes, and this is who I am.
Yeah.
And do you align with this? Yeah. And what do you want?
How early on did you bring that stuff up this time around?
Within the first month.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So it's like having these hard conversations early on.
And making it sexy.
Making it sexy,
like you get fun with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great book called The 8 Dates by the Gottman doctors.
Okay.
Have you heard about them?
No.
So it's a married couple, older, I think in their 70s, both doctors, and they've researched thousands of couples. They have a lab, and they've looked at couples over like 30 to 50 years and kind of seen what creates a long-lasting, successful relationship. And kind of also the breakdowns in relationships. And so the 8 dates is going through each category to just make sure there's alignment.
Like in date 1, this is what
date 1
you gotta
talking
cover.
about. Date 1 is about trust and commitment.
Okay. So
you learn about it, you read it, and then at the end there's like 6 questions that you talk about.
So like at the end of the date, you send like a follow-up. First date, you send a follow-up text like the trust and commitment questions.
I don't know about first date. That might be.
So it might be like you've been dating and now it's like now over our next date dates.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, okay,
first date might be
I got one job
aggressive.
tonight. I got to find out if this person is trustworthy and committed.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, breakups, lots of lessons, and I think too, it's learning about the unmet needs. Sometimes we attract. Have you ever heard this? Like we attract subconsciously what we didn't get in childhood.
100%.
Or we attract mommy and daddy, and so people can continue to unconsciously attract those unmet needs. And so until we actually look at kind of what needs were not met or what was this bringing up. So for me, it brought up a lot of not enoughness. And so I actually got to heal that core wound of feeling not enough throughout my life and just I was with someone who wasn't fully committing to me and fully choosing me. And it was like, okay, where am I not choosing myself, right? I think relationships are a mirror. Mm-hmm. It's mirroring back to us our blind spots, our magic and our beauty and our gifts, but also our shadows and the things that are lingering under the surface, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, it takes awareness and radical responsibility and ownership of like, okay, that's why when people are like, oh, my ex was a narcissist, I'm like, oh, be careful with that word, right? Because you attracted that, right? And there's some instances that are different, but it takes a lot of ownership to be like, oh, fuck, like I attracted this into my life. So when people are talking crap about their ex, it's like, honey, be careful with your words, like, right? Because if they're a mirror of you, what's that telling about you, right? So for me, it was very like, whoa, like where am I not committing to myself and choosing me, and where am I not like I'm a queen, right? So if any men too out there, it's like you're a king, and so act like that, right? And I think too, there's a journey from going from boyhood to manhood, and that's okay if you're not in. I think when men are afraid of commitment, there's almost even a progression I've witnessed for men to like really step into manhood of like, okay, I'm ready to fully commit and call in like this partnership and build an empire and like step into this like new level of providership. But I do think it's a journey for men. What are your thoughts on that?
Which part?
Going from boyhood to manhood. There's
a lot to that.
Yeah.
I learned recently on an episode this concept of initiation. We live in a society where there is not initiation. Historically, initiation might take place with like, you have to go make your first hunt, like do your first hunt alone and like kill an animal in the wild and bring it back for the tribe to eat. Like now you're a man. In Jewish religion, bar mitzvah is initiation, but you're really young. You're like 13. You are 13. Those are 2 examples. So we live in an uninitiated society right now. So there's no like moment where boys become men, and there's like a trigger where like you're a boy and then you do the thing and now you're a man. Now it's just sort of like free for all. I think there are some key things that help men initiate nowadays. One is like getting fired, getting your ass kicked, like getting beat up, literally physically in a fight, getting your heart broken. And by the way, all these things can happen numerous times. Maybe like entering a new city, moving a new city, having to make new friends, like build an entire new life. Losing a loved one to death, and grieving that. Those are a few that come to mind. And I think you have to go, being broke, losing everything in that regard. And you got to go through these things to learn the lessons, to learn pain, to understand what life really is. to ask all the deepest questions, to realize you're not alone. Everyone's going through it. No one's looking at you. No one cares about you. Truly, like the way you care about you, like it's just, everyone cares about themselves. It's like, you got to learn all this stuff by going through the shit.
Yeah.
And that takes oftentimes your teens and 20s and probably into your 30s. And some men never get there. Some get there really quickly.
Yeah.
There's no race. There's no better or worse. There is no hierarchy to it. It's just like part of the process. And that's one of the reasons I love the mud. I love the pain, because it's like every time you go through it, you're a better man, a better man.
Yeah. 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 And I think when a man tells you he's not ready to commit, like, listen to him, you know? I think there's right now a lot of situationships and even me. So me and my ex broke up, and then for a year we did open. Like we were back and forth, and it was messy, and it was not. And that was when I'm saying, like, there was a lot of outside noise. There was a lot of outside noise telling me to do something, of like the no contact, and you just need to be in the void, and just cut it, just let him go, Niki. What's like, just let him go, just move on. But I've never, like, this last breakup was the hardest breakup, it felt like, for both of us. And so I think also a big lesson has been, it takes time to let go. You know, letting go is a process, and it's not to just as the process of boyhood to manhood. Letting go it's not to be forced, right? It's not to be rushed. Same with girlhood to womanhood. But I think letting go, sometimes it's like, I went into an Aya ceremony after the breakup, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna let go of him and move on and just be done with it. And the main message was like, no, this is a process. This is going to take time. And that was a big lesson for me. And, you know, I think anyone who, like for me, I had to touch the stove a few more times with him. Like again, we did the dance. We were together for a year. It was messy, but it was like you
answered the questions.
Yeah.
I've sort of been there. I haven't ever like had an openness, or like I've never even like hooked up with an ex, right?
It was so hard.
And
just reopening the wound every time.
Yeah. But I have had breakup and then gone back and dated again, same person. And I think that's okay.
Yes,
because
it is okay.
Like, you know
I
what?
never heard that when I was going through that.
Yeah, I never heard that. But I saw it as like, I have unanswered questions that I feel like I can't really live with. I'd rather go answer them like, and it fail again than like have to just have these unanswered questions for the rest of my life. And like, that has to be a mutual decision. The other person has to agree to try that as well.
Yes.
But I think that's okay.
It is okay. I think anyone's process is okay. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And if you need to touch the stove once, twice, a few times to like learn your lesson, sometimes it takes that, right?
Sure.
And for me and Noah, it's like we were also very unclear about whether we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. So it's like we needed to do that dance because we were we were confused, you know?
Definitely.
And so it was like being in that, just being in that fully and letting it be. I think breakups, just allowing it to be messy and like it's okay if it's messy. We're all figuring it out. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And just listen to what feels true to you. I'm actually so grateful I did that because I learned also so much of like about true love and what that means, and like to have someone you love and being in we tried open, you know, like every time we were intimate with someone else, we would tell each other. And that was really hard in the beginning. And as time went on, it got easier. And he also moved to New York City. And when he told me he was nervous, he thought I was going to be upset. And I was like, I am so excited for you. Like, I love you so much. I want what's best for you. And then when me and George, my new partner, met, he also was like, Niki, I just want what's best for you. And that's what true love is truly wanting what's best for each other
Yeah.
and wanting what's in highest alignment for both of you. And something, you know, if you are ever needing or wanting to break up with someone or have, it's like, instead of thinking of like, oh, I don't want to hurt them, it's like, think of it as like you're freeing them, right? Like when Noah first broke up with me, I was like, go be free, go to New York, start your startup and do the thing, like go find, like live your life. And then when I moved to LA and met George, he was like, I let you be free, birdie, go fly, right? And I think true love lets go, right? Not attachment is like, oh, you're mine, and like it's like controlling, and it's and that's been a lesson for me too, of like true love and like letting go, like loving someone so much to let them go. That's
the most cliche line ever, but like
cliches are true.
This is the hardest thing, probably. I think that might be the hardest thing in the human experience.
Yeah, to let go of someone you love.
100%. Nothing. There's a Zach Bryan quote: "Love him or hate him, I love his music. Can't say I'm necessarily the biggest fan of his character right now, but nothing kills you slower than letting someone go."
Yeah.
He said that, not me.
He said that.
Yeah, it's a great line. I think that there was something I wanted to.
Do you have experience with that? I'm curious, like in your last breakup, how did that unfold?
That one was a bit different. That one was first time I ended a relationship. I had only been dumped prior to that.
Okay.
And I thought it'd be a lot easier to be the one to end it. Like, oh, it was my choice. Like, why would I chose to leave, right? Like, how would I struggle to get over this person? And I think it was actually harder because when you are being broken up with, it never really crosses my mind, like, did I make the right decision or not? You know, it's just like you have no control over it. You have to just live with it. First breakup, I was 22. I loved her so much. She's my first girlfriend. Shout out, Michaela. If you listen to this, love you, girl. Hope you're doing well. We were young, and it was awesome, and I really struggled for years.
It took you a while.
It took me a long time just to like make sense. I mean, nothing to compare it to. You're not like, oh, I've been here before. I know what this is like. I will get through it. You'd think like I've never felt anything like this before. I'm going
I feel like
to die.
You're dying.
Yeah, 100%.
Like
I thought I was dying.
Ending,
for like years.
In the beginning, breakups in the beginning.
And the lack of linearness to it. Like, you know, you think, oh wow, I've been really good for like 3 months. This is amazing, and then something happens, and you're like fucked again for like a week, and you're like, what the hell is that? And people are like, oh yeah, it's not linear. You're like, no one ever told me it's not linear. So the first one was really, really hard. Second one, a couple years later, and that one I felt a bit blindsided in, but I was also broken up with, and I knew I had my formula now. It was like, okay, like just block them on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because every time I'm posting a story, I'm looking to see, did they watch my story?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's really unhealthy for me because then everything I'm posting is subconsciously for them. But when there's no chance of them seeing it, then I can just like do things for me. Okay. So I was like, just fucking block them. In the first relationship, I like felt really nervous to block my ex because I didn't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to seem petty, or that I was struggling to get over her. But like, truth is, like, I couldn't even begin the healing process until I fucking blocked her. Like, there was just no shot. I'm seeing her name everywhere, every day. Travel. So I was like, I'm just gonna go travel for a while. And then I moved across the country again. So like, I'm a big fan of like, get out of the routine. Like, don't go to the same coffee shops that you guys used to go to. Don't see their car all the time. Like, just put yourself in a new environment where you can like 100% know that like, that possibility of running into them or seeing their friends or like whatever, that's just like not at all in your mind. So I did that. So I really like ran the playbook. Got into MMA and like jujitsu and like got into a whole bunch of new hobbies, like all this stuff. Just like thrived in my career. Didn't date. Like I wanted to. You want to like go back on dating apps and you want to date. and get over them with the new person, but like it just made everything worse. So I was just like, no, I'm just gonna like not date and do me for a while. This relationship though was the first time I was like, I found my person, my third one, and it was the fiery, passionate, quote, almost chaotic relationship where there's like such highs and lows,
Chemistry, a lot of chemistry,
major chemistry, and the highs are so high,
which isn't always.
Yeah, I mean,
good.
It's wild to like have a weekend where I'm like, on Sunday, I'm like, I'm going to marry this person, have babies with them. And then like 2 days later, you have a fight and you're like, I have to leave this person. Or like, they have to leave me. Like those ups and downs constantly, it became like a drug, roller coaster. And then finally, you kind of sober up for a while after the honeymoon phase is over and I'm able to look at it and I'm like, am I going to spend the rest of my life like this?
Yeah. On
this roller coaster? Do I want the rest of my life to be like, I caught it when there was a weekend that took place where I was like, oh, hell yeah, we didn't fight this week. We had a good week. That's fuck yeah.
And how long were you together?
About 10 months or so, 9 or 10 months. I was like, oh yeah, this is great. We had a good week. We didn't fight this week. And then I was like, whoa, am I going to be counting the weeks the rest of my life? Am I going to spend the rest of my life like feeling glad that we had a good week? That's not the formula of a healthy relationship. And then there was a chapter of like wishing that just wasn't the case. Like you want it so badly to work. And then eventually you got to just accept the fact that like it's not compatible. Like no one did anything wrong.
I think the caveat is it's like if was she willing and to do the work? I think it's if you're having problems like this, but two people that are doing the work, it's possible. It's possible to.
Yeah. I can't say that she was or wasn't. That is not for me to decide.
Yeah.
My definition of doing the work, I did not feel was being met for me.
Yeah.
On her end.
Well, good for you.
And that
it's hard.
Was kind of it.
It's hard to.
And then eventually it came to a head, and it was the day where I had to just say the thing that we were both thinking that we were both afraid to say out loud, and then we never spoke again.
Wow.
And so I definitely can understand and respect the aspect of like, if you love someone, let them go.
Yeah.
And that means a lot of things. The way I summed this one up was like, I can't stop loving myself in trying to love somebody else.
You chose yourself.
Of course.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I had to. And I don't think it was selfish. I actually think it was the most selfless thing I could have done. And then, you just kind of move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. I haven't really shared that, like, definitely not on camera. Yeah. Where's the other one? Right there. But, it's
hard to go through
those. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It really is. Like having had the experience, nothing but love and gratitude for her and everything I learned and all the things that were said and done and not said and done. And
a lot of lessons.
Tons of lessons.
And sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes you're like, is it supposed to be this hard?
Yeah. And like, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't work out.
But also, I think a lot of people don't know how to have conflict.
There's a lot of shit that I learned in like my early 20s, mid 20s, and late 20s in therapy and coaching.
Yeah.
With men's coaches, with therapists, with all kinds of stuff, hanging out with people in that community. And you start to learn the vocabulary and like how to have nonviolent communication and using I statements versus you statements. And you learn what like villain, victim, hero is. You understand the attachment styles. You understand just all that stuff. And I have lots of friendships, and I have been in romantic relationships where both parties are on that same wavelength. Therefore, we're able to communicate. I've also been in friendships and relationships where one party is not on that wavelength. They have not learned those things. That's okay. It's just like a path that we've just gone on different paths. So when you try to communicate and solve problems, I found that the person who doesn't know that vocabulary, I think they feel patronized by the other person a little bit. Like, oh, you and all your fancy fucking therapy terms.
Yeah.
You and your villain, victim, hero.
Or the spiritual lingo.
Your spiritual lingo. And it's like a whole different
language.
world.
Yeah.
And I just kind of think now, maybe my opinion will change at some point, but I'm like, you can't be with someone if you are in that world who isn't in that world. You just fundamentally speak different languages. How are you going to communicate?
It is hard to be at different stages developmentally. Yeah. I think it comes down to your values. Like for me, one of my top values is growth mindset, and someone that's like actively doing the work on themselves, and someone that's always growing and learning and student of life. So that's like, for me, that's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So I think also breakups teach us about ourselves, about what we want and don't want. Right? It's important we create non-negotiables, and we get super clear on, what we're calling in our dream partner.
Yeah.
And dream partner doesn't mean ideal. It doesn't mean perfect. Right? No one's perfect. It's someone that you choose for all of them, right? And I think that's a lot of my past relationships have taught me that, of like, okay, no one's perfect. And the more compassion I have and acceptance for myself and all parts, like it's much easier to have compassion for my partner, for other people when I'm not with myself.
Yeah.
I
think I learned, it's funny because I've had 3 relationships, and I've learned, I believe that I think there's 3 levels to non-negotiable. And I learned level 1 in the first relationship. I learned level 2 in the second. I learned level 3 in the third. Level 1 is basically like what we would consider the shallow stuff. And when you're in your first relationship, I think a lot of people, at least this was my experience, you enter it, or the first time you're like attracted to people, you're judging it on level 1 stuff. Are they tall? Are they blonde? Are they hot? Are they skinny? And when you have those things, like, you're like, well, they're amazing. Like, they're tall, they're hot, they're blonde, they're skinny. Like, that's my person.
Yeah.
And then it ends for reasons bigger than level 1.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, next relationship, there are things more important than that. Like, those things are great, but like, those are not my non-negotiables. My non-negotiables are like, are they athletic? Like, do they ski? Does this person love sports? Can I like watch a sports game with them? Do they like, can we both go out and drink on the weekends together or whatever? And then you start to spend time with that person. That's your next person. You're like, no, these are the important things. These are the important things. And then the relationship ends for bigger reasons, level 3 things. And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. You're like,
it's not about anything. All that stuff, like those are all like nice, but like
nice
it doesn't matter the color of their hair. It doesn't matter if they like to ski or not really. What really matters are they responsible? Are they dependable? Are they family oriented?
And these are based on your values.
These are just your own values.
Yeah.
Like the deepest core values. Like you can't get any deeper than like the core values.
Yeah.
And you learn that through realizing like, oh shit, like at the end of the day on a Saturday, like, is she skiing with me or not? Is he coming to the football game with me or not? What matters is like, when I have an emergency with my car, can I call them to help me fix it? When I have a death in the family, can I call them to help me get through it? When I like have to bury a fucking body, can I call them? Those are the things that matter. It's like the real ride or die. And it's like, one, you got to learn what those are by going through it with people, one person or numerous people, and then learning. I think the level 3 things are all that matters. But you are entitled to everything. Everyone's entitled to one shallow non-negotiable.
Okay, I take that.
What's your shallow non-negotiable?
My shallow non-negotiable is works out. Is that shallow? Goes to the gym.
Yeah, I've heard that
from
you before.
Health.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. That's a good answer. Yeah, that's fair. So in tradition,
like health is so important to me.
Love it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
So in tradition for the show, I'd love to end with this question, which is actually a little bit adjacent to all we've been talking about, but everyone gets asked this.
Okay.
What do you think it means to be a man nowadays?
It's interesting asking a woman. Okay. I think that as a man today, what it feels like to be a man today is expansive yet scary. I feel like as a man today, it's intimidating because throughout majority of history, women have needed men for resources, and now women are becoming more independent and don't need men as much. And we're finding that actually today, men need women for emotional support. And so there's a switch there. And I think what it means to be a man today is leaning into like that vulnerability is strength, and that asking for support is a superpower. And I always say, it's, if you think you can get to where you want to be in life, then your mission and your vision are not big enough. It really takes a team to do this work, or to create the life that, you and I want to create, and I'm sure whoever's listening wants to create.
Yeah.
So what I think it means to be a man is it's new. It's like there's no templates for really, you guys are on the frontier of like what it means to be a man, like a conscious man and an emotionally intelligent man, a strong man, a man who is able to provide, but also, for me, it's like I went to a retreat and all the men were holding planks for about 3 to 5 minutes, and they were screaming, they were crying. And all the women at the retreat, we just had our hands on their backs. And we were like, you got this. So I think what it means to be a man is to actually like receive that from the feminine, from women, of like, we got your back. And I think that's so, that exercise, everyone was crying. Like it was really touching. I think what it means to be a man today is I think, there's a statistic that really frightens me, and it's that close to 80% of men today commit suicide. And I don't know if what else would be a bigger wake-up call than that for men to something needs to change, right? Something needs to change. And I'm so like, I honor you and like for sharing your message around masculinity. And, I think that alone should be a reason why men should, feel their emotions and be like the buffalo, go right into the storm head on and face their shit. Not go to the gym, not like you can do that stuff, but it's like go into the storm first. And what I think it means to be a man today is also really exciting. Like there's so many opportunities for men to succeed, and I think there's a shift. I believe women, it's like we went from being feminine to hyper masculine to now I think women are embodying more of their feminine. And so I think what it means to be a man too is like this new power. I don't know how to explain it, but it's...
None of us really do, which is why this pod exists.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on today. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, love it. Fun. How can people find you online?
Instagram is It's Niki Van, ITSNIKIVAN.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Give her a follow, everyone.
My partner and I were doing Everest, going to base camp in a few weeks.
Sick.
And when we get back, we'll be doing some live events in LA.
Sick.
Some couples immersions. And
cool.
Yeah, if anyone's going through a breakup, you can reach out for support and to just let yourself fall apart, and know that you'll get through this and you'll come out the other side stronger, wiser, and more you, more free.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.